Welcome to this guided series for new players to Workers and Resources Soviet Republic. In this part we are going to start taking a look at construction. Now I know some of you may think, well, why do you want to jump into construction this early in the game? You feel that you may have to want to spend more time on building up your town, but there are several reasons why that you want to get into construction at this point in your game. The first one is the fact that you've got your first town up and running, and hopefully everybody's going to be happy except for the fact they haven't got a pub. But what you'll see is that you still don't have much of a population. We've only got 892, and building up population takes time. We've already got unemployment because we've covered our essential costs here. What you could call is the first level of employment is the construction industry. The second reason is purely economic, which I'll explain once we get into the mechanics of the construction itself. And then the other reason is that construction is one of the more fun elements of the game. So that is the reason why I'm going to talk about construction now. The actual video will consist of two parts. In the first part, I'm going to talk about the actual construction process and how it works, and also the economics of construction, because it's very important to understand this. This is a mistake I made when I first started playing the game. I never really paid much attention to the economics, and then quite often I found that despite starting with a big pile of money, it disappeared incredibly quickly. So hopefully by the end of this video, if you don't understand anything else, you understand how auto purchase has a big impact on how much money you spend. So that out of the way, what we're going to do now is just make sure that we're not on auto build. What I'm going to do is plan our first construction project, which is to build this asphalt road here. Now, if we come here and click on here, and I bring this in, what you'll see is that when you are manually constructing something in the game, you will get this screen drop down. Ignore all the warnings at the top. That's down to the fact that I haven't actually built a construction office at the moment. You've got a little checkbox here that says notify me when finished. I would only use this for major buildings such as a steel mill, which is holding up your overall economy. I wouldn't recommend using it for road. You'll end up with so many notifications you won't know what's actually going on. The next thing across here is priority. I would be very careful not to overuse priority, because you've only got high, medium and low. And to be honest, the only time I really use high priority is, again, it's mainly in a building when I want the construction office to focus on a key building that I want built as quickly as possible. Below that, you've got a nice bar here that gives you your overall construction progress. Now, below that, it says workers on construction site, 71 maximum number of workers. And the number of workers will depend on the size of the road or the building that you're actually doing. And if I come down the corner here, you will see right below here, you'll see it says active construction, maximum number of workers without construction office. What that does is it actually controls, for example, say that you were building something in your town, which is so that the construction site is within walking distance of your residence. What will happen is if you've got workers here looking for a job and you've got an active construction site, they will walk to that construction site. So what this option down here at the bottom actually says is that you can have a maximum of 100 construction officers working on that site. Personally, I don't change this very much because I like to use the fact that workers can walk to a construction site as a bit of an added bonus, but I'm digressing a little bit here. You've got a bar here that actually tells you how many construction workers are on site. Below that, you've got this little box, and what this does is it tells you the mechanisms that are actually on the site. Now, with respect to a road, that will be a bulldozer or a paver or a roller. With construction buildings, that will be an excavator. There's tower cranes in the game and road cranes. And what these vehicles actually do is speed up the building process, because technically you could build anything in this game just with workers. But I will tell you now, it is an incredibly slow process, so you do need vehicles. But there is a bit of an advantage there in the sense that if you're desperate and you do need to push a job, then you can actually do something purely with workers. And there's also certain circumstances where you have to use workers, but I'll talk about that once we get into the practical side of construction. Now below the box you'll see that there's two lines which describe the resources. Now the first line, it says resources needed to finish current phase, laying gravel. And what that will take is 280 work days and 79 tons of gravel. So all construction projects in this game follow real life. The fact that every construction project has phases. Now the total project is 721 work days and 79 tons of gravel and 59 tons of asphalt. And what actually happens, in fact I'll demonstrate it over here. So what we'll do is I'm going to go through the stages of constructing a road. So the first stage is laying the gravel, which is the equivalent of building a gravel road. So if I show you here, this one now says that to build this takes 454 work days and 120 tons of gravel. If I do the fund for purchase, you can actually watch it go forward. And you can see the progress going, and as the phase is completed, that is deducted from the resources of the entire construction. And you can see there it comes there. So what you've got now is that is the equivalent to this phase here. Now if I actually build the asphalt road now on top here like that, and if I click on this, what you will see is it says the next phase is laying asphalt. This is going to take 454 days and take 97 tons of asphalt. If you look below, there's a difference between the actual work days to lay the asphalt and the total work days. So if I auto purchase this, and if you watch, what will happen is this will go over, and what we see now is, so we've laid the asphalt, that is the activity of the paver, and what we got now is just a phase where there's just pure workers of 200 works, slightly more than 223 days. This represents the process of rolling the road. And then what we'll do is get it, and that's finished. Now, if you were building a road which had streetlights on it, I'll just upgrade one of these and put some streetlights on it just for the fun of it. So if I put streetlights on here now, what you see is there's another phase which involves steel framing. So, and what you'll see is that's exactly the same. So if I purchase this like that, so what this demonstrates is that to build a road with streetlights takes 4 phases. To build an asphalt road takes 3 phases, and a gravel road it takes a single phase. Now that phase process is also reflected when you actually build buildings, which we'll do in a minute when we build the construction office. Now comes the sting. If we come to the economics page, and if I show you the imports, what you'll see here at the top, the cost of the asphalt was 4,138 rubles. The cost of the gravel was 1,479. Now you've got to remember is that the cost of actually building that wasn't just the base cost of the asphalt and gravel. It was also the delivery cost, because of course if you go back to when I first talked about building these buildings, I mentioned the fact that the further you go away from the border post is a delivery cost. Now the sting is if you come down to here, you'll see in this top page, you'll see that down here there's a section called foreign manpower, and then it says Soviet bloc provided 1,209 work days, which cost 11,541 rubles. Now that is the cost of all those work days, because we were bringing in a foreign workforce. The scenario is that because this was being auto-constructed, our parent Soviet Republic was providing the actual workforce. Now, so if I actually compare that, you can see that the actual cost of the materials was what, 5,500 rounding up. Now if we go back to here, you'll see that the cost of the manpower was nearly twice that. So you can say that when you are constructing something, a big proportion of your costs, up to 2/3, will be manpower. And this is the reason why that if you use auto purchase, your money will disappear incredibly quickly. Getting into construction as early as possible really conserves your actual expenditure and your money, so you can make it go further. Bearing in mind at the moment everything we do has to be imported, and this is very much a new player mistake, in the sense that there's this kind of feeling that, oh well, we can just keep auto purchasing and search purchasing, and I can build a wonderful economy, I can put down lots and lots of industries, and just I don't think I think I've got a power station here. Now if I'm just going to drop a power station here just for the, actually no, I won't do that. But what I'm trying to say is that big buildings look attractive, but they can cost a really big sum of money. Now just to wind this section up, I just want to show you one other thing here which I would not recommend using unless you're playing realistic mode. What you've got here is a group of workers here. I don't know, there's 28 of them. They're called foreign workers. These are a physical incarnation of the economic workers that are appearing magically during auto purchase. Now the reason these are available in the custom shed is for players who, like me, who play realistic mode, because in realistic mode you have to build everything from scratch. You can't, there's no auto purchase whatsoever. And that means that what you've got to do is use these foreign workers until you've actually built your first town. Anyway, so what we're going to do now is actually plan our first construction office. Now, construction offices are available down here. They come in different sizes. There is a free construction office, which relates to what I've just been talking about when you start out in realistic mode. This is the type of construction office that you come. It's a part of a range of free buildings that are available for realistic mode. Now if you're playing your first game, do not use the construction office except for a very specific reason. That is, say for example you are pushing out into a brand new area and that area is not very flat. What you can do is send out build a free construction office, because of course you don't need to construct it, so you could push it right out here. 2 free buildings that are immune for fire, and then what you can do is put some bulldozers and excavators in it, and what that will do then is actually give you free leveling. To be honest, we've got a pretty level map, so we don't need to worry about that. Now so construction offices come in, well, 6, 12, 16 and 24. Now what I'm going to do is build a 16 here. Now, what I would recommend is that when you are setting up your construction office, we want to put it somewhere where they can get reasonable access to a workforce. Although technically this construction office, I'm not going to set up a workforce for a reason which I'll explain in a little while. And the other thing you want to do is put it somewhere where it can get access to your main road network to get out and about. So what we're going to do is just drop it in there. Also, connection to a power supply is very, very useful as well. So we're just going to come in here. Of course, we're just going to, I think we're to spend a few more of those dollars just to get things out here. Now, before I actually build this, I just want to show you the construction screen, because it's very similar to roads. But what the difference now is, what you'll see, all buildings have this first phase where it says resources needed to finish current phase groundworks. And you can see there's 292 work days, 25 tons of concrete, 19 tons of gravel, 15 tons of asphalt. Now the groundworks phase is quite an important phase, and there is a way that you can save yourself money by the groundworks phase. I'll talk about that later on. And then you can see on top of that, to complete this building, we need 19 tons of bricks, 17 tons of board and 5.1 tons of steel. Now, I want to mention now that the one thing that will kill your economy long term is the cost of steel. And of course, what we're going to do is, again, I'm just going to fund it with dollars. This is just very much my habit. Now, if you actually watch the building being built, you'll see that nearly 50% of your building construction is often the groundwork. So obviously, bigger buildings, that would be a lower percentage. Now, what you'll see now is that the next phase is called laying bricks, and what we're going to be doing is laying 17 tons of bricks, 11 tons of boards and 21 tons. And you'll see also that the resources needed to finish are being depleted. Now, not every building will have a laying brick phase, because this building needs bricks, but There's also ones where it says kind of constructing prefabs, building a framework. So it does vary from buildings to building. And then if we just let this run, you'll see that what will happen is that it will do the laying brick face. You can see you've got the animation coming up to show the building. And the other thing, and what we see now is that we're now in rooftop. So the last phase is actually laying the rooftop. Now, one thing that I will show you, just put that, tuck that away. If I come to the overlay and we come to here, what you will see is there's an option here which will give you a very small percentage. I'm aware that some of you may not be able to see it, but you've got a guy here shoveling into a pile of gravel or something. And what you can see is it's set to 94%. So if for some reason that you're not sure where the progress is and you don't want to go into every individual building, this will give you an overview of what's going on in your construction. And then what we're just going to do is just finish this. We've now completed the 16 slot construction office. The first thing you will come down here, you will see that we've actually got fuel auto purchase on. I'm just going to cancel that. Let me just, where's the auto purchase? Just cancel that. And I'm just going to deliver fuel by trucks here. Now, it's not essential that you deliver fuel to construction offices, but but what I would recommend is that if it's possible, I would suggest that you do it. Now, the reason for supplying fuel to a construction office comes down to a technique which I'll talk about a bit later on, where you can actually help speed up the actual overall construction process. Is name your construction offices. Oops. Because the last thing you want to do is have Strakova construction office 1, 2. And what I'm actually going to do is call this a road crew, for a reason which will become apparent. Because what you want to do sometimes with construction offices is specialize them. And the most basic specialization is actually the creating a road crew. Now, as we've already mentioned, the road crew only really needs gravel and asphalt. I'm ignoring illuminated streets. And if we come back to here, what you'll see first things first is there's a whole list of all the building resources here, which is workers, gravel, asphalt, concrete, steel, bricks, prefabs, boards, mechanical components, and electrical components. Now, not every building will actually need all those resources, but the common ones are gravel, asphalt, concrete, steel, bricks, boards, and then mechanical components, electrical components normally relate to when you build your electrical infrastructure. But at the moment we've got no other source of resources beyond the custom shed. So what I'm going to do is we're going to come here and I'm just going to allocate gravel and asphalt to here. And it's already telling us we've got missing dumper trucks, because that's all we need to build a road. The other thing I'll also draw your attention is that when you've got your construction shed active, you will get highlighted in green any project that's associated with it. Now, the reason this project's been associated to it, if I jump down, is you'll see that the game has an auto detect and it's already picked up this road. I'll be completely honest, I'm not a fan of auto search, except for in a specific circumstance which is not actually shown here. Now, what you can do, because this is a road crew, you can turn off buildings. And what you see is I've left roads, footpaths and factory connections, because for all intents and purposes, these are roads. So your road crew is just going to pick up and build any roads, footpaths and factories within 1,000 meters. You can push this up to 3,000 meters. And I think I will leave it. And you can see it's already picked up this road here and it says progress. Now, so what we got to do now, as it says up here, it actually tells you that we actually need dumpers. So what we're going to do is come in here and we're going to purchase some dumpers. 2, 3, we're going to start with 4. Now, if we let the game run, you see the dumpers will leave straight away. This is a absolute minimal type scenario, and technically it is possible, although I would strongly not recommend against this, that if you bought some buses and if you had a workforce over here, you could build this road with just 4 dumpers, a couple of buses which we'd have to put into the construction office, and workers from there. Whatever you do, don't do that. There's a far more efficient way of doing it than that, and that is to come into here, and then what we're going to do now is buy a bulldozer. Now for roads, bulldozers are more efficient than excavators, so we're going to buy 2 of those. And of course we are building an asphalt road, so we're going to need 2 pavers, and also we're going to buy 2 rollers. And I mean, truthfully, we only need 1, but what I want to show you here is, if you actually see this bulldozer going here, and if you actually look at his top speed, he is trundling along here at the massive speed of 19 kilometers an hour. And the problem with bulldozers and pavers and rollers is, one, if they can take a very long time to actually get to the construction site, and 2, they actually obstruct traffic. But for the purposes of this exercise, we're just going to let them do it. What you'll see is that the dumpers come in and deliver the gravel, and you can see that the bulldozer now shows up as the mechanism on site. And because there's only 1 box, you can only have 1 bulldozer building this. And what you will see is that if I very slowly, you will see that the gravel and the workdays being put on here. But more importantly, what you will see, if I hold the economy open, where you can see here that we are not using any foreign manpower. And this comes back to what I've just said about not using workers when constructing roads. And what this means is that if you use mechanisms, you are completely avoiding that manpower cost. But the thing is, though, if you put a bus into this construction office, the game will then say, oh, you want to use workers, and of course we'd have to come, and you'd have to put this as a pickup point. And then what will happen is the bus will bring workers out here. This is the reason why to get the best out of your construction offices is to build dedicated road crews. Now you can specialize this even further, but I'm not going to go into that at this point. So what I'm going to do now is just let these guys get down to the process of actually building the roads. And this can be quite a bit of a fun exercise, actually, just watching the animations. Welcome back. The bulldozer has nearly reached the end of its construction cycle. I'm just going to pause because I want to show you 2 things. One thing I forgot completely when I was purchasing the bulldozers. If you look at these bulldozers, in the same way as with fire stations, they have a speed or level. So like this bulldozer's got a level of 22, and the Stanlets has got a level of 28. That also applies to pavers. So most of these vehicles have a speed limit. So when it comes to purchasing these vehicles, what you want to do is get the best possible one that you can get. The second thing I want to talk about is how you can actually make your road crew even more efficient. And what you've got here, it says deliver mechanisms only with trucks. If you click this, what that means is that your slow moving vehicles, this would be your roller, your bulldozer, your paver, and when you get into building construction, that will also cover the excavator and the tower crane. And then the way it actually works is that what you need to do is click on here, and then what you see here, there's a button that says show which vehicles can carry the paver. And at the moment it's the SKD, and I'm pretty sure that that's it. Normally it's the bulldozers that will actually do it. If we come in here, yeah, so what we're going to do is come into here, and we're going to purchase an open hole, and what we're going to do is buy 2 of them because we're building this. And what you will see now, if we just let the game run, you can see the bulldozer is just coming up here. Right, what's happened now is that this road is now finished its initial gravel phase, and what you'll see is that the bulldozer hasn't started returning back to the depot. The reason being for that is that and what you can see here is that the open hole has picked up the paver, and it's actually moving here. Now, when the devs first added this feature to the game, it was a little bit cumbersome, but they've done a lot of work on it, and you can actually see now that the open hole's dropped the paver and has now picked up the bulldozer. In the past, that would have been 2 trips. The other thing that can happen is that, say that there was another road that that was waiting for a bulldozer, the open hole now has the intelligence to say, right, I want to take this bulldozer to that road, especially if it's in the same vicinity. But one thing you will notice is that pavers, it's not until the pavers on site that the asphalt trucks will actually go out and actually pick things up. So what I'm going to do now is, just as a bit of a demo, well, actually I don't really want to build that road. I think what we'll do is, I'm trying to think of a road that we can build. Actually, let's just build this road out here so it's a bit more realistic. What should happen is that these guys will pick up, and what you'll see now, and this is the advantage, see now the top speed of this guy is 24 kilometers an hour. The top speed, if we let this guy run, is, if we press the I we can track him, is 61 kilometers an hour. So that means that the two things, the bulldozer will get to the construction site quicker, but more importantly, he won't be obstructing the traffic. And of course, as you get better open holes over time, that will make things a lot more efficient. So what we're going to do is just run this out to here, and you can see that's now dropped off. Now, one thing that can happen in this game is that, because there's only and this is a good example here, when you've got a paver, the dumpers do not just chuck the asphalt on the road, they queue up here. And what can happen is, if you get too many jobs queued up, and you can end up with dumper trucks all parked here and road blocking, especially if there's not a paver available to actually finish the job. And this is one of the reasons why I try not to use auto search, because what can happen is that the game will put all your jumpers there, and then this job over here will just sit here and do nothing. And then of course, if you don't have a paver here, all these trucks will just sit here like a bunch of numpties waiting for a paver. And one scenario you can get into is that, say for example, that this road over here was at the paver stage, you can actually have the paver over here waiting for dumpers, and all the dumpers queued up on another road waiting for a paver. So it's a kind of a mutual exclusive process. So that's something you do need to keep an eye out for when you're actually building roads here. But again, just to show you, this is where the thing is. We're actually on the 2nd of April now, so you can see that we've got no foreign manpower costs. So what we're doing now is just purely operating on the costs of the materials that we're picking up from the border, and of course our fuel costs as well, which is implied, which really reduces the amount of money that you're actually spending of your initial capital. So what we're going to do is just let this run again. You can see it's move in progress. We've got about 64 days left on this, but you see now that the game's got the intelligence that it knows that there's enough gravel in here, not gravel, sorry, asphalt. So this truck has got 10 tons, and it's 1 ton short there. But be aware that there can be a rounding error in here, so it might be fractions of an asphalt left. Yeah, so you can see it's just dropped to 10 tons. So the game's worked out that. And what they will do now is send the trucks out here to deliver. Where's the? I'm sure there's one coming this way somewhere. There it is there. So he's now going to turn up, and he's going to get that road going. And then over here we've got our bits and pieces there. Now what I'm going to do is, while that's actually going on, I'm going to plan a second construction office out here, because I want to show you something else. This one's going to be a little bit bigger, because this is going to be our primary construction office. I think what I might do is try and push this out away from, I think we're going to put you out here like that. And of course we're going to have to build the road out here as well. Now, just to show you now, what we got here is our roller going all the way across here like this. So he will roll out and complete this road here. Now, of course, what we got to do in order to build this construction office here, we've actually got to build this little bit of road. So there's another thing I want to talk about is that, and this relates to when you would use workers to build a road. Now, if you get a very short section of footpath, what can happen is the game won't deliver a bulldozer to it. And what you've got to do then is actually use workers to physically complete that section of road. Although technically, when you're playing with auto purchase, it's just easier just to auto purchase it and get it out the way. Now, while these roads are being finished, because you can see it does take time, and we were at maximum speed, I just want to give a little bit of an aside. Now, this relates to the maintenance mechanic, and if you're not sure what the maintenance mechanic is, what happens is that all buildings in the game, once you've finished building them, they start deteriorating over time, and it's called wear and tear. And factories also have machinery in them. So industry has two types of wear and tear. Buildings have a single one. And what it will show up in here, it will tell you what the wear and tear is. Of course, we don't have it enabled, so therefore you can't actually see it. Now, the construction offices actually repair the buildings. So when the building deteriorates to a certain point, the default is 50%. The construction office will then pick up its own jobs, and this would be the only auto detect I leave on all the time. Is there's an option down here that says repair buildings, and what actually happens is that when the repair threshold is met, the construction office detects it and sends out a repair building. And so this is part warning also for if you watch old tutorials of people using construction offices. They may say that construction offices are no longer required once you move on and everything's been built. But if you're playing with maintenance, you've got to have this level of cover to ensure that your buildings are maintained. So so you can see now that we've actually got this construction office set. And what you see is now that the groundworks include concrete. So what we're going to do now is come into here, and we're going to trying to think of the way we can do this. I'm just going to buy a couple of concrete mixers. So we're going to buy, we've only got one, so we'll buy a couple of concrete mixers. And what we can do now is just allocate this job to here. And what you'll see now is these guys will go out and enthusiastically start delivering here. Now, what I want to do is then buy an excavator for a reason which will become apparent. You see this one's 33, that one's 22, so we'll get this one here. What I will do is excavators can be a bit tricky, so what we're going to do is just, the open holes will carry the excavator. Now what I'm trying to demonstrate is a way that you can actually get the groundworks done on a building for free without workers, because this phase here can be done by the excavator without the input from workers. So that's something I'm trying to demonstrate. So what you'll see is what will start to happen now is that we will start to get the asphalt delivered. We've got the concrete coming in, and what should happen is once you get enough in here to be able to start the groundworks. In fact, I think once you've got one of each, then the excavator will be dispatched. Now, while that's going on, because eventually I would like to build this building, so what we're going to do now is just come into here, and we're just going to add concrete. Oops, I didn't allocate the concrete. Now, we don't need prefabs, do we? We just need steel boards and bricks. So what we're going to do here is just set this up. We need boards, and that's it. We don't need prefabs, we don't need mech components and all that. So what you'll see now is these guys will come out to here. So what I'm illustrating here is that, and this is something I do like to use, I often build a specialist construction office and I call it groundworks. And then what that construction office actually does is go out and just do all the groundworks, and it doesn't use workforce. It just literally builds the groundworks for the buildings. And then what I can do then, is when I get to the final stage, is actually use another construction office, which I can normally call my main construction office, to actually do the actual final phases. So while that's going on, I want to just show you something else as well, which is incredibly useful when you're building. Now, I've actually got it set up here. If you watch the early video, I mentioned this construction office assign tool, and what it is down here. And what you can do is, if say you want to create a dedicated road crew, you can click here. What that does is add the road crew to there. And what that means is that, say for example, we want to just turn off the auto assign for this purpose of this. Say for example, we're going to upgrade this road here, keep it simple. What you can do then is come in here and then set it assigned to construction mode, and you can actually assign the construction officers here. You get 10 places or 10 groupings, so you can also add multiple construction officers to this as well. So what you can do is use this to allocate. Now the way I've enhanced that is that I've actually added this to the toolbar, and the way you can do that is by just literally dragging it up there and moving it around. And then what that means is what I can do then is just close that because you don't need it. I can press the 1 key to open it up, and then I can press the key, the number of the key, to allocate it. It's a very efficient way to allocate jobs when you're working manually. Anyway, back to here. What you see now is this excavator is quite happily doing the construction work here. He's quite happy with doing what he's doing. Now, I don't think we don't really have the unemployment to put workers onto here. Oh, we got a little bit, but they've been pulled away. So I think just to finish this video off, what I'm going to do is wait for the groundwork. No, we can, and we got plenty of money. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to buy a bus. Let me just see. If you sort by capacity, we got. I probably don't need 80. I tend in the early game to sort by speed. So we're going to get this bus here, and then what I'm going to do is do exactly the thing that I said that you shouldn't do. Is we're actually going to use foreign workers. What you see now is, and this is the reason why I was saying about using a dedicated groundworks crew, because what's happening now is these guys, this is going to pick up our workers. The upside of this is that he will deliver workers. We actually click him here. He will deliver workers to the construction site, so it will go quicker. So he's got 24 workers on it. And if we come up to here, the construction site is going quite slowly, but you'll see when the bus arrives here, the presence of the workers will actually speed up the overall process. So you come in here, you'll see that the job actually progresses quicker, but it's now, if I come back to the economy, you'll see now that these guys are actually costing us money, but it's a one-off fee. So we're paying 231 rubles for 8 hours work, because these guys only work 8 hours. Because again, if I click on these, they're already disappearing. If you actually watch these guys, they only work 8 hours a day. And why you don't want to do it, they're now gone. And you see we're now down. You can also see, but what they have done is now actually completed this phase here, and we got the excavator sat here. And of course, what will happen now is the construction office will send out an open hole to collect the excavator, and then the other open hole should then start delivering the bricks and other items to here. You can see the excavator is now removed, and it means that all this next phase, all 495 days, is now going to have to be done with workers. But you can also see that now we've got 4 construction slots here, but of course I've actually filled up all the slots here because I didn't want to do it. But what you can do to speed this process up is use road cranes or the tower cranes. In fact, if I we don't need these guys, so I'm just going to do something. What we'll do is no, I've just sent them to the wrong place actually. Well, actually, That's the... Where's my road depot? Oh, there's the road depot there, sorry. I better get him out of there. What I'll do is I'll send a couple of dumpers to there. And what we'll do is pick up another one here. And what I will do is come in here. I think we've got a tower crane. We'll buy a tower crane. When you buy tower cranes, you've got to be very careful that you get the right one, because tower cranes is one of the few buildings that can only be moved with an open hole. The other thing I'll also do is come in here and also buy a road crane. Got one 26. This is 26. So we'll find this here. Now, what vehicles get sent to here is totally in the lap of the game. You've got no control. You can't physically send a vehicle out to over here. And you can see at the moment. And what you'll see is that this guy will come into here and set up a mechanism. So we got one mechanism in here, but you will see that he doesn't actually do anything. The reason for that is that at this phase you have to have workers to be able to get things built. In fact, if we get in here, you can see we've now got bricks, boards and crypts, but the work days are not changing. But now we've got all the resources on site. What should happen is that if we can find the bus here, and if we actually, what you see now is the bus is going out. So what the game tries to do before it starts the job, and I want to emphasize that starts the job, it won't send workers to a site until such time as there is the resources on them for something to do. But the problem is that once they're being sent to the work, we've actually got 40 workers now. Once they can be sent to the site, you will get into situations where you will have workers on site basically twiddling their thumbs doing nothing, simply because they don't have any resources to work with. And what you'll see now is that you can see now that the crane is having the equivalent of the excavator, in the sense that this is now moving forward really, really quickly under the effect of the combination of the workers and the road cranes. So this is the reason why. But you also see that the game has decided not to send the tower crane, and you've got no control over that. Tower cranes are by far the most efficient way to build the bigger buildings, so it's certainly worth investing in that. And what you'll see now is the fact that nothing's happening now because you've got no workers. So getting your workers on site is quite important. But you see this time round that we've actually got less workers. But I think it was that. How many numbers of workers have we got here? Sometimes it can be difficult to tell. We only got 14 this time. This is why foreign workers are just not normally worth the effort. But for this circumstances, this is a kind of example of what you do in realistic mode, that you want to build something and you've got no workers over here, but mainly because you haven't built your first town, and therefore you've got to use the foreign workers to actually do your initial construction and build your first town. But it can be a little bit of a painful process. Okay, welcome back. In theory, we should get all this finished. I don't know how much longer. Yeah, they're going to be here for another 4 hours, so we should finish this building. That's it. So it's now built. Now, what I want to show you, so just to finish the video off now, what I'm going to do is tidy up these construction office. I'm going to show you a couple of options that you can use. If you build a new construction office and you've got a construction office that's got most of the range, you can use this button to copy the source settings from here to here. So what we can do is just go there. And what I'll do now is, if I show you here, we've got everything in here except for mechanical components, and what we can do is just add these to there and there. So because this is going to be our general construction site. Now there is another option on here as well, which is up here, which will move all the vehicles to the new construction office, but I don't want to do that. What I want to do is get you to change depot to here, because I want to get the road crew back to the way it is. We're going to leave the open holes here because we don't need that. I am going to move one of the open holes. Now, with tower cranes, to move the tower cranes, what you've actually got to do is load it onto an open hole and then tell the open hole to change location. And what will happen is that the open hole will then go that way. We need the bus to go to there as well. And then what we can do is pick up these guys, move them back here. The road crane needs to come out of here as well. There. And what I want to do is replace the missing open hole here. So place that. So that gets our road crew back into the normal profile. Actually, there should be a concrete mixer in here as well, but because we don't need concrete building roads. And what we've got here now is, now one tip guys is that you've got to actually tell the open hole to unload to put the tower crane in here. And then now, so one final step is what we need to do is make this into a fairly comprehensive construction office. Now, if you were using a groundworks crew, you can avoid not putting dumpers into this building, but we're going to make this into a general purpose building crew. So we're going to get a couple of dumpers like that. We probably need about 4 open holes. So you normally need a lot more open holes because you've got to remember you've got to move the steel, the boards, the prefabs and the bricks. You also need covered holes. I normally start with 1 because the what you use for because what covered holes do is move mechanical components and electro components, and generally those are relatively rare from the point of view of the things. What we will need is another excavator, and again build one of those. We're certainly going to need some more concrete mixers, so we'll probably get 4 of those. And I think that generally, oh, and probably a second bus, although that's not quite so important. Now, there's loads of tutorials about what would be the ideal configuration for a construction office. My general rule is that I kind of depends on where I'm working, how much hard I'm pushing it. And of course, what we will do is set this to deliver fuel, turn off the what we call it, oops, not that, sorry, cancel that. And what that means is that the open holes will be delivering the excavator and the tower cranes to here. The only possible risk is that this building doesn't have a power supply, and the game can be a little bit temperamental about delivering fuel to buildings without power supplies. I just want to try it just to make sure. If not, we can just put in a power supply. Now you see these guys won't move, so what we'd have to do is very quickly put in. No, they're not going to move. So and must admit, I do like having a power supply. I think what we'll do is we're probably going to develop this area for other buildings, so just going to put you there and hook this up. What we'll do is and what you actually see now is, because I've built put this building in, we got this here. This is actually, because this is on auto detect, of course I don't want this building roads and footpaths and factory connections, although they can all contribute here. This is where you can see now it's actually picked up the medium footpath and the medium wires So what we're actually going to do is let the construction office build this. In fact, he'd probably build this quite quickly, although this is probably going to be, yeah, it's actually an asphalt footpath. Bit of a mistake there, sorry about that. But we'll just let the guys build it. So this is where I'm going to leave it. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found it interesting. And if you've got any questions, feel free to chuck it in the comments. But until next time, whatever you do, enjoy your gaming.